Hey there. Well, welcome to the Friday webinar. It is May the 15th, and we want to look at how the rental property industry in Sioux Falls is faring as we go through this COVID-19 pandemic. So we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at May rent collection, and then I want to talk about some questionable unemployment numbers. Why have I been focusing on unemployment lately? It's simply because I think that unemployment is really going to be the precursor to what we're going to see in the residential rental property industry, right? So if people don't have jobs, if they're not getting income, clearly that's going to affect their ability to pay rent. So let's take a look. So in April, this is in Sioux Falls, and clearly every location is going to be a bit different. Every landlord is going to be different depending on what type of property, what type of tenants they've rented to. So in April, though, we had 99.7% collected, and then in May so far, we've collected 98.9%. We obviously are very happy with that. We didn't know what to expect going into April or going into May, but we've been pleasantly surprised that people have continued to pay rent and be able to pay rent, which definitely helps us make the mortgage payment and pay the bills and keep the property working in great working order. Now, I think different landlords are going to have different experiences, right? So depending on the type of person that they've rented to, this could be better or worse. So for example, I just read a news article that said that 40% of people making less than $40,000 a year have been unemployed, right? And so there's different levels of income that have taken the hit harder than others. And so if you're renting to more people that make less than $40,000, you could be more negatively impacted as a landlord. Now, what do we see going into the future? Well, because the CARES Act has provided for an extra $600 a week, which is $2,400 a month extra unemployment insurance through the end of July, we think that given that May and April were pretty good, we think that June and July probably are going to be good as well. And then it remains to be seen what happens in August. August 1st is kind of going to be our bellwether at this point, I think. And of course, there's more talk coming out of Washington that maybe they're going to do a bigger stimulus. I don't know. But from what we can see right now, obviously it changes by the day. We think that tenants, even if they are unemployed, are going to still be able to pay rent through July. Well, let's look at unemployment then, because I think there's differences of opinion of how many people are really out of work. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So one of the things that came out last week was that they reported that the unemployment rate was 14.7%. Now, I'm not an economist. I don't know exactly how they come up with these numbers, but I'm pretty sure this is the reporting of how many people have had continued unemployment claims. So you claimed it in week 1, and then in week 2 you said, hey, I'm still out of work, and that's what goes into the quote-unquote unemployment number. Okay, the first-time claims is a different number. So let's look at the difference, though. So first-time claims, we're gonna examine that in a minute. Well, let's start with the unemployment level. So how many workers, let's start with the employment level. So how many workers were employed as of February of this year, before COVID? We had about 159,000 people were employed. And this is coming off of the FRED, which is the Federal Reserve of St. Louis website. They've got a lot of really great information on there. And so these are solid numbers. Starting in February, we also had a 3.5 unemployment rate, and you can kind of see that down here. And you can see, coming into March, we have this massive spike up, which blows, the last recession out of the water. Well, if we do the math, here's our total number of workers: 159 million times the 3.5% unemployed. That means that we had about 5.5 million people unemployed before we started COVID-19, and that was quite low, right? That was low, even by historically low, if you look even back into the 1970s. Oops, got to go back one. Well, let's look at the first-time jobless claim. So I've been kind of keeping track of this as we go. Here you kind of see in March 26, you had that first spike in unemployment, about 3 million people. And you can see each week, 6.6, 6.6, 5.2, 4.4, 3.8, 3.1, and 2.9. This was last week, Thursday. So a total of 36 million first-time claims. And if you add that to the 5.5 million unemployed that we started with, you end up with about 42 million people that have made first-time claims. If you divide the first-time claims by the total number of workers, you actually get a 26% number. So the 14.7% is being reported, which represents about 23 million workers. Those are people that have had continued unemployment claims. But if you add both the first-time claims and the starting unemployment number, you end up with that 42 million. Well, the difference between the 42 million and the 23 million is about 18 million people. So what happened to those people, right? Did they find new jobs? Well, I think some of them did, right? For example, Walmart had 2 hiring sprees. They did 150,000 followed by 50,000. I just read that Domino's here in Sioux Falls has hired 150 people. And so definitely there's industries and businesses that have benefited and have seen their business increase through COVID-19. So some of them have been reemployed. I'm guessing that some people didn't qualify. So for example, I think there's some people that are falling through the cracks in the sense that maybe you're here legally, you're not an illegal immigrant, you're here legally, but maybe you don't qualify for unemployment insurance. There's definitely some of those folks out there. I think there's some people that maybe they applied, but they weren't approved for some reason. Certainly there's self-employed people or gig workers. I've talked to some of them that even though they would qualify, they haven't even applied. So some of those are in there too. So who knows what this number is really? We know it's at least 14.7, and it's most likely worse than that. So to give you some context, you got the Great Depression that peaked at about 24.9%. It didn't stay there very long, but that was the peak. And COVID-19, I think you're somewhere between 14.7 and 26.3%. It's probably maybe not as bad as this, but I think it's certainly greater than the 14.7 that they're reporting. So a news article in the Wall Street Journal, Goldman Sachs thought it's probably about 25%, and that was yesterday. Well, so what do we do about this, right? So some of the thing I've been thinking a lot about lately is the Stockdale paradox. It's really helped me put everything in context. And if you heard, I played a recording from Jim Collins a couple webcasts ago, but Colonel Stockdale was shot down in the Vietnam War, and he spent many years in the prison camps. And how did he survive? Well, it was 2 things. It was, 1, face the brutal facts, combined with an unwavering faith in the future. And so I took his phrase, his encapsulation of this, and I put it in COVID-19 language. And so here it is. So if this was Colonel Stockdale today, he might say something like this. I never got depressed because I never wavered in my faith that not only would I survive, but I would turn COVID-19 into the defining event of my life that in retrospect I would not trade. And so the brutal facts are we have 2 enemies, right? We've got the virus plus economic destruction. The unwavering faith piece is that if we're going to survive, and we will, what will I do today to turn COVID-19 and economic destruction into the defining event of my life that in retrospect I would not trade? And so that's the question that I've been asking myself personally as a family, as a business owner, and how do I lead my team, my customers, community to this unwavering faith, and how do we do the things today that will actually be make this the defining moment of our life? Because let's not kid ourselves, we are living through history right now. Obviously, we always are living through history, but we are making history today like we have not made it in many years, right? People are going to look back, and we are going to be in the history books. And so what can we do to make the best out of our time and really have, face the facts that there's probably 25% unemployment, that there are really a lot of hurting people. What can we do today and tomorrow and the next day to make this into the defining moment of our life? So I'll leave you with that. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll answer those online though, put those in the chat box or what have you, and I'll do my best to answer them. All right, stay safe and have a great day. Bye.